there. I've advanced it. Now, if I gingerly make it through here, with no stepped on toes. Okay, before the lights go out, shifting gears to the back side of that Inspiration Butterflies, you see just a tentative listing of some of the 60 species that I provided you with a full flight season for these 23 years. And again, I'll be going through left to right, and this, I guess it's May 20th, will be the 15th time for the Children's Freshwater Festival I'll be presenting on Dragonflies. And I can't believe those years are going fast. But just 2-second introduction to Dragonflies. That as a flying adult, they strictly depend on their vision. In fact, some species have up to 30,000 lenses in each eye. In fact, there's kaleidoscopes that are called even dragonflies that maybe have 15 or 20 different images. And then also, a dragonfly can independently operate each of its 4 wings. Unlike a moth or a butterfly that has to operate in pairs, they can operate each wing separately. That's why they do these fantastic maneuvers. And they have the strongest mouths of any insect. In fact, dragonflies and damselflies are in the family known as odonates, which means toothed ones. They have the strongest mouths of the insects. In fact, back there on the table, I have an artist's sketch of what a common green darner looks like. And if there are no fish in that water body, they are the top predator, where they live 1 to 7 years, and then 1 to 1.5 months, they emerge as a flying adult. And the only reason they need to have that much time as an adult is because they go through simple, incomplete metamorphosis. So there's egg, larvae underwater, and then the flying adult. There's nothing in between, such as the chrysalis or cocoon, where you have butterfly and moth soup being produced. So they need that 1 to 1.5 months to become sexually mature to keep things going. Whereas a butterfly, when it emerges, it can mate right off the spot. Anyway, I guess we'll be on the slides. Yeah.
You didn't tell them what they ate underwater.
Okay. Well, they eat like mosquito larvae, so they do double duty, both as a flying adult and then underwater. And then they can eat little tadpoles or fish, but more likely they become a meal for a fish or whatever. But anything that's underwater, and that's why they're a perfect topic for a freshwater festival, because anything that's in contact with water for 1 to 7 years, depending on species, it has to be pretty good quality. And so actually, whereas butterflies are a very good indicator of environmental health, dragonflies are excellent because you have 2 things to worry or be concerned about: the water itself, and then the terrestrial area that during this 1 to 1.5 months that they're coming around and hunting and need places to roost and so forth. So let me get a swig of water here, and then we'll be into dragonflies. Yeah. Here is, okay, and again, going through the season, this is a common green darner. It's one of our larger dragonflies, and it's interesting that this is the first dragonfly I see here in the spring. But did it emerge locally? No. It emerged down in Texas, because late summer, in fact, some of the last butterflies, or dragonflies I'll show you, are what the fall version looks like. And they fly down to South Texas, have a generation down there that then comes up here. Here's an example, again, of a springtime darner, and here is what it has just emerged from. shed skin exuvia. And this is the only posed slide you're seeing from me tonight. On a birch log, I posed this exuvia, and it almost looks like parachute cords coming out, because it's actually almost in slow motion that the adult comes out, and then like an air bed or air mattress, puffs air into its wings and body, and within an hour or so, it flies. In fact, it doesn't have to learn how to fly like a bird. The first time it wants to fly, it does. In fact, just minutes after I saw the springtime darter, it took off without having any hesitation. There's a series of white-faced dragonflies. This is a frosted whiteface, a Hudsonian whiteface, a dot-tailed. There you can see the dot on its tail. And then this used to be called red-waisted. Now it's called belted, because I guess they figure that that looks kind of like a belt. But here you're clearly seeing the white face. And these are fairly small, and they're in the spring. Because again, there's different succession, different species are on the wing, spring, summer, and fall. This is a real challenge to capture this on film, a American emerald, mature male. And it's like prisms that you may have played around with in school or whatever, with your grandkids or whatever, that actually their eyes are really just black, but the way sunlight comes in, it bounces out for the mature ones as this tremendous emerald color. Here's another emerald, a racket-tailed, and those of you into tennis, this doesn't quite look like a tennis racket, but it's more enlarged than on the American emerald. This is probably my favorite dragonfly species, calico pennant. This is a mature male with a red face, and then all of the stigmas and the body have red highlights. And this is a thing too that is very interesting about dragonflies, that during their adult lives they can change their color quite a bit as they're maturing. And also you can really see some differences between the genders. The female has yellow wherever the male has red. Okay, then, now this is a basket-tailed species emerging on our shore, and this is where around close to Memorial Day, it can be a few weeks before that, a few weeks after, is when the big event of the dragonfly year occurs. They have mass emergence of 3 or 4 different species within several days. There could be like tens of thousands coming out. And usually if people notice dragonflies during the course of a year, it's when this migratory, or the mass emergence occurs. And that includes spiny basket tail, a dusky clubtail, and then my most common dragonfly of the year, a chalk-fronted corporal. Somebody a few years ago gave me a dragonfly guide for Indiana, and in Indiana this would be a rare species, but here this is the most common species I have, and you could say this was a smart dragonfly larvae, because our log home is exactly 100 feet from the shore, and not a manicure lawn, but wild and woolly. It climbed there, and I say it was smart because if they emerge right along the shore, there could be up to 90% mortality. One reason there's so many coming out at this mass emergence is because you have a lot of hungry nestling birds that need to be fed. And there's high protein in dragonflies. But also there's strength in number, having so many come out at the same time. And that, in fact, this is a time for me to put in a plug, that you should have at least a buffer strip, if not as much as you can have near your shore. So there are things, little vegetation and so forth, that the larvae can come up and emerge. So anyway, but here is, okay, that was a very fresh chalk front, and then on a painted watermill slice, here are some maturing. In fact, there is a mature male already. And then again, because dragonflies are cold-blooded like butterflies, they need to warm up, and so on warmer, or on cooler mornings, you may see them out in the sun trying to warm up their flight muscles. And then conversely, a few Junes ago, late afternoon, early evening, there was like 50 some on a giant birch of ours. There are 23 that are showing up here, that these chalk-fronted corporals were just trying to have the last warmth of the day. An eastern pond hawk, mature male. This is a 12-spotted skimmer, so 3 times 4 is 12. And then, as I mentioned to these 6th graders, I'm not sure why this is known as a 4-spotted skimmer, but that's its coming in. So pick your 4 spots, I guess.
Oh.
And then, okay, then darners. This is a Canada darner, our most common darner species. And one thing with, in fact, this is an overall view of that darner. In fact, oh yeah, I should dispel a old wise myth that anything that is this long must be like a darning needle or a devil's needle or something. It's just, in a sense, that's for reproduction and for balancing off the front part aerodynamically. So it's not going to sting you, even though it looks like something that long must be able to sting. But here's a close-up of that same individual, and you can see the strong flight muscles from the thorax, and then the thorax stripes, which there's about 12 or 13 different darners, and all of them have different patterns, so that if you get a view of that, you can help identify what they are. In fact, here's a black tip. The screen is blocking off the black tip down here, but see how different its thorax pattern is? Oh yeah, back on the table, back on June 10th, 1999, Joanne and Frank Smith called and said, I think there's something going on our lake home. So I came dashing over, and I have the picture that Joanne took of me being a contortionist. And this is one of the pictures I got of this steam cruiser that emerged 129 feet up a steep bank. So it was a very smart dragonfly. A Midland clubtail. In fact, you're actually, even though a lot of clubtails are called that, here you see a nice prominent club on this mature male. Oh yeah, and here's an interjection that's not on your sheet. It's on your flight season. A crimson-ringed whiteface. And I had to put this in here because knowledgeable dragonfly enthusiasts consider this the most beautiful dragonfly there is. And you see that it almost hurts your eye, that crimson color. But unlike a butterfly that after it dies, the colors never change. Once a dragonfly dies, the colors just fade away. So it's only a living one that you would ever see that intense red like that crimson. Here's a dragon hunter, and the reason it gets that name is that it feeds on other dragonflies. In fact, it looks almost like a muscle-bound individual. It's really stocky, and you can see how it could really do some damage, so to speak. And using Halloween colors, well, this is a Halloween pennant. And And then a widow skimmer, this is actually a mature male that has that milky color. A chalk-fronted corporal, no, a common whitetail, and the mature males are this chalky color. And this is a good time to point out too, although many dragonflies have totally clear wings, some of them have very colorful shapes and so forth on their wings. And because so many of them have clear wings, it's kind of tough to see a lot of them because there's not much surface area to see. This is a mature male blue dasher, and why does it have its abdomen up in the air? Even though they're cold-blooded, they can get too hot. And unlike a dog that can pant, they have to have their abdomen up, so it's like a radiator radiating heat out and having a minimum sun angle hitting. A variegated meadowhawk, in fact, I had a column in the paper where I actually got, with my digital camera, a pair of them mating and egg laying, but this is definitely a mature male. The female is more kind of butterscotch and white color, but and it comes from elsewhere. It usually doesn't exist around here on a regular basis. Oh yeah, here's another add-on to the back of your sheet. A mature male eastern amberwing, which is fairly small, and only in the last few years have I been seeing at least a couple of them here, so I figured I'd include it, because it, even though it's small, it's very colorful. A saffron-winged meadowhawk, now we're getting into the fall where there's a bunch of meadowhawk species, and here the immature have that saffron color wing, a leading edge and stigmas. Another meadowhawk is a mature male band wing. Oh yeah, and so far I have not shown this to the sixth graders, but I probably will maybe start. On September 1st, 1990, when our log home was finished up here, but we were in 6-year countdown to be debt-free in Omaha, we were up here Labor Day, and there was a mating orgy. There's just 3 pairs in this shot, but there had to be dozens that were all mating at that same time. So somebody said, you know, 6th graders, they're pretty knowledgeable now, so I may start showing them to 6th graders. But those were cherry face. Now, this is what a tendril or young common green darner looks like late summer when it has emerged. And then here is a close-up. And one rule of thumb with darners, they all have squashed together eyes, whereas the 6 or so different groupings of dragonflies, they're either are widely separated or slightly touching, but the darners all have squashed together eyes. And the very fresh ones have this really lime green color. And as I say, they will be flying down to South Texas, have a generation there, and then be back up here next spring. Now, somebody is working on a PhD at the U of M to try to determine, because it seems like there could be some resident common green darners that don't migrate versus those that do, and trying to figure out, well, why are there maybe 2 kinds of common green darners? Now we're really getting into late summer, early fall. Here's a mated pair of white-faced meadowhawks. Nature must have felt, well, a bunch of white-face in the spring was a great idea. Well, why not have a fall version? So you don't even need to have a close focusing binoculars to see the fall common, or the white-faced meadowhawk. Here's a mating pair, and here you see, like, again, the difference in the genders. Very intense colors on the male, and then understandably, because she'll be laying eggs, a much more subdued coloring on the female. And then here is the very last species of the dragonfly year. For a number of years, this was called a yellow leg because it had kind of yellowish leg, but actually more appropriately now it is an autumn meadowhawk. And I think I put an exclamation point that on the very last of your flight season, that as late as November 13th, I have seen them on wing. And you have to remember, butterflies are nectar sippers. Once those flowers have come and gone, that's it for them. But as long as there's some meat to be had, some insects flying around, you can have, like these autumn meadowhawks, still on the wing. In fact, it was on October 26th last year I had my last one. Here's grandson Paul, age 8, with a buddy, a chalk friend and corporal, and I show this to the 6th graders because, again, you're never too young to kind of become interested in dragonflies. And also, if a dragonfly is close to you, well, they can be tackling mosquitoes, gnats, and flies that might be literally bugging you. Oh yeah, in April, Paul turns 32. So time is marching on. But and then here, a mature male chalk-fronted corporal almost looks like it has kind of a smiley face there. Here's what I say is, here's looking at you. And that's the last of the slides. I could have gone on for, I don't know, hours or days, but thanks for your patience.
Thank you.
And then I guess, oh, there's
Did you want
Kate.
to take questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
And here, let me get the.